guess we good. All right, y'all. Hi, my name is Jeremy. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus who struggles with drugs, alcohol, pride, and self-worth. Hey, y'all. I hope that through my testimony that it will encourage you to give God a chance to work in your life through recovery. I want you to know that God deserves all the glory of me standing here in front of you today. My life was once chaotic and out of control. Today it's peaceful and manageable most of the time. Today, thanks to Jesus Christ and the people He's placed around me, I'm truly a grateful believer. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for love. I'm grateful for family and friends. I'm grateful for God's grace, everything that He's given me. I pray that He would be glorified in this testimony. I want to start by saying my testimony is an accountability of all my experiences and my feelings about my past, God's glory in my present, and His hope for my future. Some of these experiences are directly linked to people you may know. I do not share these things to diminish or discredit these people, but only to share my impact of these experiences had on my life. I want my family and friends to know I love them deeply and know today that they are different people just as I am. If there had ever been a constant theme in my life, it had been work. From the earliest of my memories till now, I can remember working a lot. I've enjoyed it and had a great deal of satisfaction working with my hands. These are one of the things I believe I learned from my dad. He taught me to work hard and made me work hard. Today I use my work ethic to serve the Lord in any way possible, but that hasn't always been the case. I grew up on a farm with an older brother and a younger sister. Always seemed to be work for us to do. We never went hungry and always had anything we needed because my parents were hard workers too, and they provided for whatever we needed. I guess most people thought we were wealthy, and maybe we had a little money, but there were many things that our family didn't have. We had a lot, but it seemed to be missing some very important aspects of what a family was supposed to have, like security, safety, and acceptance. Of course, as a kid, I thought this was all normal, but today I realize it was unhealthy and chaotic. My dad was a practicing alcoholic and a controller. In his alcohol use, often resulted in verbal and physical abuse and attacks on our family. I lived in fear of him. Don't get me wrong, I knew that he loved me, but I struggled with being able to earn his respect and approval. In my mind, I always felt short of his expectations. He got into recovery at some point, which helped, but I think at this point my family had been too far gone. We all needed some help at this point. My mom, she was a nurse. She worked long hours. She took me to church sporadically, but when I was growing up, but I never really saw value in it since it didn't change things at home. At 11 years old, started drinking with friends while on camping trips. After all, this is what men were supposed to do, right? You work hard, play hard, and have a good time. Had no remorse about my drinking and did it as often as I could. Soon became an every weekend. 12 years old, I used pain medication for the first time. I got in an accident with my mom, broke some ribs and lacerated liver. 2 months later, got staph and couldn't walk for a while. So I had to be air-medded to New Orleans to the hospital for 3 weeks. I can remember liking the way the pain meds made me feel. But after I recovered from my injuries, I went back to drinking with friends on the weekends and swore off them meds. There were a lot of fights between my parents. They split up at the age of 13, went back and forth until I was about 15. There were lots of secrets in our house, and I felt in the middle of them many times. It seemed to be a constant pressure not to talk about certain things. I felt unwanted, angry, abandoned, neglected, and embarrassed. Soon after my parents split up for good, I moved out, dropped out of school, moved in with my cousin, started drinking really heavily, but totally against drugs. I got 2 DUIs before I was 18. I liked to fight. I was very angry most of the time. I was the first to the party and always the last to leave. Was finding my own way to cope with the uncertainty in my life. And everything I grew up seemed to be a lie. Everyone around me paid the price. If there was any sanity in my life at this time, it was Erica. We started dating at 15 years old, and she was always good to me. We married when we were 19. I was not quite ready for the responsibility of being a husband, but I went to the bars every night and lied to Erica about where I was. When she tried to confront me, I'd manipulate, yell, and tear her down to protect my ego and my habit. No matter how incriminating the evidence was against me, I always found a way to turn it back on her. I can't imagine how she stayed to endure that, but she did. Started using pain meds shortly after we got married. Some of my friends and relatives had offered me some pills, and once I got the taste of them, it was on from there. I went from a 2 pill a day to a 60 pill a day. I was paying close to $300 a day for pills. Had my own business, so I was able to hide the money and use for a while. At one time, I nearly had $100,000 in cash saved up and blew every bit of it on drugs. I tried other drugs, but opiates were my main addiction. All right. JJ was born, my little girl, in 2008. I was very happy to be a father. I remember crying like a baby, but still being high. When Jalen was about a year old, she found one of my pills and brought him to her mom. At this time, Erica didn't have any idea about how severe my habit was. This raised her awareness, and she found out the money was missing and how severe the problem was. Erica and Jalen left to go live with her mom. This is when I went to treatment for the first time. I lasted about 30 days out of a 90-day facility, and then I found a way out. When I discharged, I came home, and I went to CR once or twice, but I was sure I had this thing under control. I didn't go back to any more meetings. Proverbs 28:14 says, "Blessed is the one who always trembles before God, but whoever hardens their heart falls into trouble." I was using again just a couple months later. I used secretly and fought my addiction in my own power. I would go 30 days or so without, and then back to my addiction. Eventually, Erica found out I was using again, and this time, she told me to get out. Game changer. I slept in my truck for a couple nights in cow pasture and using the whole time. This was the beginning of my bottom. I went to stay with my dad and his wife for a couple nights, and that in itself had been a cry for help because they had tried many a times in the past to help me get help because they knew what was really going on. Even though I had failed the following other times, they still helped me get admitted to Red River in Alexandria in 2012. We had a family day, we had a family day while in treatment, and Erica told me she had filed for divorce. It was clear she had enough of my behavior and tired of cleaning up my mess. I was not happy, but in the back of my mind, I was still thinking it was okay. I was determined to stay in rehab and make it all okay when I got out. I obviously was not completely out of denial at this point. I still thought I was in control. I'd been living in my truck. I was now in rehab, and I just got served with divorce papers. One night in rehab, I called Erica, and she had confessed she had been with another man. We were both crying, and I couldn't stop thinking about my little girl at home. It was finally sinking in. I was losing everything. This was the night that I finally hit my knees and admitted I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't do it on my own. I almost left that night to go home from rehab, but I decided I need to stay and finish. God had begun to show me how much His help. He had finally showed me how much I needed His help, and I finally surrendered to His way and not my own. Erica and I had met with a counselor at rehab, and she explained to me that I'd been cheating on her for years with drugs. I guess I'd never taken into consideration how long I cheated and abused must have felt for so long. I'd put her more than I would have ever imagined, or I wouldn't have went through myself, and eventually pushed her away with all my insanity. It doesn't mean that her actions were justified. It just means that I was equally responsible. I could have prevented it all, but I chose drugs instead. After my discharge, I came home. We decided to make it work. We started attending Journey Church in Pineville and Celebrate Recovery there in Ville Platte. Eric and I both were saved and baptized, working on the years of damage. We both joined step studies and and started to serve on Friday nights. I had a new outlook on life. I wanted to be close to God and committed to recovery. Eric and I continue to strengthen our relationship, and we have made amends to each other and have learned many new ways to work on our problems. I'm better about considering her feelings instead of manipulating and strong-arming her. God has helped to repair our marriage and increase the size of our family. He has blessed us with two more, a son and a daughter, along with Jalen, which is Luke and Case. My relationship with my parents have vastly improved. I'm very close with my mom and dad, and we work together to try to by addressing the issues with low self-worth and pride. I'm building strong relationships with other men, encourage me how to be accountable. I have learned to call others when having a rough day. I seek God through prayer and reading His Word. I'm a faithful member at FBC in Ville Platte. Try to model my life after what it says in Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and not on your own understanding. In His ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. This month, I celebrate 4 years of freedom from drugs and alcohol. I'm a changed man. I work hard to be honest in all my dealings and set goals to do the next right thing. I've driven to work hard, take care of my family, and I was once a $300 a day opiate addict who almost lost everything. Now I'm a believer in Christ who's overcoming addiction and breaking the cycle of dysfunction in his family. If you are new to recovery, I'd like to say I once stood in your shoes. There's a time when I didn't know where to turn. I was looking for hope. Now, years let down the road, I'm here to tell you that there is hope. It doesn't matter what your struggle is, because there's nothing Christ can't handle. This program, which is Celebrate Recovery, has brought great people into my life. And thank God that they were there for all the issues I was dealing with, and for those I still struggle with from time to time. Today, I know that there is nothing too big for my God. My issues weren't too big for Him, and I'm certain that yours won't be either. I'd like to close with one of my favorite scriptures, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I finally understand what that verse means today. It doesn't mean that I can do all the things I want. It means I can do all the things God has for me to do today because He gives me strength. I need to do His will today. He asked me to stay sober, love my family, work hard, be honest, worship Him, and give back as much as possible. There's days that this seems impossible, but through God, every day has been possible. Thanks for letting me share.